All right.
We good?
Yes, sir.
All right. What's up, everyone? Yankee season's over. Between Yankee season being over and my just general feeling like crap after the weekend, this is going to be a quick podcast.
Yes, it is. My voice is gone. I feel the weekend. I feel that the city that never sleeps is ringing very true in my head right now. Because first of all, why the fuck can't they change the song at the end of the?
We were complaining about that last night.
But I mean, you're watching everything end
Yeah.
with the Astros celebrating on the field, and you're playing the song. What are you doing?
That tradition, the old tradition of they would play the Frank Sinatra New York when the Yankees
During a
won,
win.
and they would play a different New York whenever
Yes.
the Yankees lost. That tradition ended after 2004. That's a nice segue into the fact that the Yankees decided before today's game to use the 2004 Boston Red Sox as inspiration to try and come back in the series. It's just I thought it was like an SNL skit. Like that's how stupid it was when Brian Hoke tweeted that. Like the Yankees mental health coach is calling in, FaceTiming David Ortiz and Pedro Martinez to pump these guys up. Are you freaking kidding me? Them watching Yankees get their butts kicked for 4 straight games in embarrassing fashion in 2004, blowing a 3-0 lead, historic blown lead, is going to fire them
First
up.
first one ever.
Who who thought that was a good idea? And even if you thought it was a good idea, how did you think to actually make that public? It baffles my mind. It's yet another embarrassing thing in the long list of embarrassing moments to the Houston Astros. I'm not even mad after this game. This was like the most competitive game they played in the entire series, and that's
The Astros didn't even try.
kind of saying something. They had a lead early. Unfortunately, Nestor Cortez, like I felt bad for Nestor Cortez because he's been so fantastic all year. He won the ALDS on short rest. Like I'm a huge Nestor Cortez fan, so watching him
Yeah.
leave the game with an injury just completely sucks. But as far as the fact that they had a lead and then blew it, and then they got another lead and then blew it with an error, and an error centered around the shortstop position, which is just completely ironic, but also like makes sense, right? You played 4 ALCS games and you had 4 different starting shortstops. You didn't have the same starting shortstop on any consecutive game. Shortstop is a massive problem on this team. So yeah, of course that position is going to cost you a run in a crucial deciding game. Like yeah, of course that is.
When you have 4 shortstops playing in just like that too, I mean, you're only magnifying the problem too. You know what I mean? Like there's no continuity, there's no consistency for anybody at that point either. It's just, and then when you're playing the Houston Astros, who have their next, superstar shortstop who came up to fill the role of the guy that everybody, half the fan base wanted to fill the Yankees shortstop position. It's just like all these things, man. Yeah, but you're right. Today was the most competitive game by a long stretch, I'd say. They got the bats going early. They got to a starting pitcher that the Astros put out there. Finally, a guy that's had incredible postseason success, and the Yankees got to him. And unfortunately, they couldn't hold the lead because the Astros just kept coming back because that's what they do. They put the ball in play. How many times did they just put the ball in play and it worked out? Like Altuve's over there, back to being the pesky hitter that he has been forever, and they just found a way to score more runs because that's what good teams do.
And they immediately took advantage of the error. The Alvarez next pitch gets the game tying single, and then Bregman gets the go ahead run.
And
They're
don't forget about
relentless
the play
team.
at first base. That was that inning as well with Johnny Lasagna covering. He was late.
Oh
getting
yeah,
over there.
I know.
It was
People were
close,
saying
but he was
out.
late getting over there. If he wasn't late getting over there, it's not close.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised they didn't overturn that. I wasn't super upset they didn't overturn it because it's such a bang bang play. It's like it's even every angle showed you something different. Um, I don't know. I mean, same thing I said last night. The Astros are a better team. They're just flat out a better team, and the Yankees didn't even play close to their best baseball. So of course, it's like it's not. It's when those two things collide, it's not really a competition.
No, it's not. So now we enter the off season with Aaron Judge making the last out in the
Complete no show in the postseason. I mean, I know he hit the 2 home runs, 3 home runs, 2 or 3
Two.
home runs, 2 home runs. Well, would have been 3, but the roof.
Well, today also the wind. If they built a dome, he would have had another one today.
There would have been no win today, right? So complete no show in the postseason, and I'm not going to put the entire offensive failures of the team on Aaron Judge because that's silly. But he's also your best player, and he's going to win the MVP award, and he stunk in the postseason.
Yeah, he wasn't good. There's no doubt. He also didn't get a lot. He didn't. There wasn't a lot of help around him either. And again,
Rizzo had a pretty good postseason. Bader had a great postseason.
Bader had a great postseason. Yeah, so maybe
Stanton's numbers overall didn't look good, but he had way better at bats and did more damage than Judge did.
Yeah.
And
even
Bader
if
looked
you look
really
at Stanton's
good.
numbers now, looking back on it, like they look all right. The scene at Yankee Stadium right now is the Astros getting their American League pennant and the whole 100 level covered in orange jerseys chanting Jose Altuve's name. If that doesn't make you sick, I don't know what will. But
the Yankees have been getting punked by Houston since 2017, one way or the other. It just keeps happening. It's happening.
It keeps getting worse.
And every time, it's getting worse. You're absolutely right. It's getting worse. 7 games in 2017, 6 games in 2019. You can't even win a freaking game this year. It's getting worse. The gap is getting wider.
As Boone said.
Did he say? Oh, what did he say? He said,
"It can't get any wider."
The league has closed. The league has closed the gap on us.
Right.
It can no longer. It can no longer get
what a
worse.
Fucking tool, Aaron Boone is. Unbelievable. So one thing we didn't mention from Game 3. Well, I'm thinking about it because we were at the game, and it's a little hard to, really be in the moment in those games. Also,
Oh, who's the ALCS MVP? Not to cut you off. Do you know they just crowned him? Nope, not Bregman.
Pena?
It is their rookie shortstop, Pena.
Oh yeah.
He's I know he's born in the Dominican Republic, but moved to Rhode Island. Went to high school in Rhode Island. I didn't know that.
Oh, so now you have a new pride of Rhode Island.
I mean, it was Rocco Baldelli for a while, and then Michael King. And as long as Michael King's injured, it's going to be.
Well, I don't think Michael King injured has much to do with. Even if he wasn't injured, I think that this kid's probably going to take the crown.
So
what were you going to say? We didn't talk about
Cole gets pulled.
Pulling Cole.
Yeah, Cole gets pulled, and at the time, I didn't think a ton of it. It's like you're essentially in a must-win game in Game 3 too, even though it wasn't an elimination game. You lose Game 3, you're going to lose the series. So they went to the bullpen, and Michael Kay after the game was very critical. I don't know if you saw that clip of Aaron Boone.
Everybody's critical because it was a weird move. You're right. It was hard to. It wasn't. It was tough to react. I think because we were in the stadium and we were, doing other things as well. But you should be critical of that move, especially going to Trevino. I think in that moment
it was Trevino. Yeah, they brought in Trevino instead of letting Cole trying to get out of that jam. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a second guess, but at the same time, I think that kind of tells you what the reality of Garrett Cole is.
Or it tells you what the reality of Boone is. He's a moron.
But I don't think it's a given that Garrett Cole is going to get out of that situation any better than Lou Trevino.
What was his pitch count at that time?
95.
It was not
95.
It was 95?
It was 95.
Yeah. Garrett Cole at 90 plus pitches, I'm not saying is like is the best option. Like he might be the best option. I'm not saying he's like far and away worse than Lou Trevino. Maybe you should have gone to Loizaga or someone else in that situation. Loizaga has just looked filthy and filthier every time he goes out to the mound, right? So if you're gonna try and get out of that situation, keep it a 2-0 game with your bullpen, maybe go to someone better than Lou Trevino. But pulling Garrett Cole specifically, I mean, it kind of made sense at that point. Also, another thing that we missed. I was talking to my dad today, and apparently, after the ball was dropped in right field by Bader and Judge,
Oh, I saw the Cole. I
Cole
got you.
like a little "I got you," and then proceeds to give up a home run.
That
I
see
mean,
that.
when I
That
saw
perfectly
that, when I
describes
saw
Garrett
that,
Cole. He cannot nut up. He's incapable of nutting up.
he even tried in that moment.
Right.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna pick my guy up.
Yeah.
You guys want to know Boone's answer and why he brought in Trevino? Scott, I'm not
Sure.
saying this to piss you off. I promise you, this is what he
It was
said.
his lane.
It was his lane at the bottom of the lineup, and he liked the way he matched up against those righties down there. And also, they love bringing him in with runners on base. They did it all season when they had him. He's the fireman. He was the fireman in their eyes.
This team.
He was the fireman in their eyes.
This
In their
team
eyes,
is
he
something
was.
else.
Inherited runners numbers. And then he led all three of Garrett Cole's inherited running score.
It's really astounding to me. I know I've said this before, but Aaron Boone has gotten worse every year as a manager. He's not getting better. He's getting worse.
Yeah, there's also just moments in the postseason where these analytics, it's just something we've discussed at nauseum as well. The analytics just aren't. You can't use them in isolated situations all the time in the postseason. They get exploited all the time because in the postseason things are different. There is no gauge of a moment. There's no gauge of tension. It's not captured in these moments, even though they try to. I know. There's a time and a place to use your gut, know your people, use your eyes, and I think in a lot of the postseason moments, and honestly, like Dusty Baker, I have a hard time like despising some of the things on this Astros teams because I like Dusty Baker, and it's like almost it's like, why are you there? I want to hate this, but I don't hate you.
It's exactly why he's
one of
there.
those.
For
I know,
that exact
it's why,
reason.
and it works for him.
They're like, who's the most likable
specifically.
man in baseball? Let's hire him.
Yeah, but he does have that, like he's got that baseball mentality that fucking works, man. When you combine them in the right way, and then understand when to use the analytics and when to use your eye test and what your gut says. And Aaron Boone just doesn't have that. He's got no instincts. And I don't know if he was maimed and he had baseball instincts when he came, as a manager, and then just like everything that he knew as a player and as someone watching the game was taken away because of the the things that were mandated in a particular job, and then they just never came back, or they just were taken away. I don't know, but he doesn't have them. He doesn't have them, and it's hard for me to understand how someone who's been in the game for as long as he has not have baseball instincts.
So, at some point this week, we'll get the annual State of the Union press conference by Boone and Cashman, and we'll tear that thing to shreds because it'll be frustrating as all hell. I think the big part of the offseason is going to be Judge free agency, right? Like that's the offseason topic. And we'll be doing some other stuff this week too. Some other good episodes coming out, but I don't know what else to say about.
I got a question for you. Like leading into the offseason here, I know Boone was extended. I know he was extended, but that shouldn't matter.
No,
that shouldn't matter.
He should be fired. He should be fired.
Yeah, he should absolutely be fired.
He should, as my dad says, he should have been fired after they pretty much blew the 15-game division lead.
Well, right. That was the grounds for it. And now you need to somehow erase that. I mean, they're not going to do it at that point, but they need to erase that in the postseason, and they just didn't. So getting swept at home against the Houston Astros is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And there were a lot of moving parts that he touched, I think, that played into it. It wasn't all, obviously, but there were moving parts.
Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Every game had a different starting left fielder, starting leadoff hitter, and starting shortstop, right?
I think they circled back to Bader 1 and 4, and
I know, but like
1 and 4.
There was no
2 games in a row
back to back.
There was no.
There were even more little changes with the lineup in there, with like the bottom of the order. There were a ton of changes.
6 to 7 or whatever.
Judge was like the mainstay, pretty much.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of that is Boone, part of that's not Boone, right? He is working with the roster and the bodies on the roster that are there, but there's just an inability. I also think the organization is stuck in a certain spot where they are they were non-committal on starting Peraza at shortstop, where they did it for a game, but like just a game, and then that's it. So
yeah, so what does that do exactly?
it's
Exactly.
like you had IKF start game 1 of the ALCS, and he didn't play well. So then they did Peraza, but then that's it. That was it. So what was the point of that? Like honestly, what was the point of that?
IKF
You're not
messed
gaining any
up.
momentum, but a young guy coming in like that, you want to give energy. You want to be able to, give a spark, and you do that, and then you sit him. Like it defeats the purpose of that.
No, that's what I'm
They
saying.
brought
What was the
him
point
today
of
for
doing it
defensive
for one
replacement.
game? If you're gonna
I
do it,
know, I agree.
start
Stick
him in
with it.
game 3 too,
Doesn't
or
even-
don't start him in game 2.
Game
Like,
3,
make a decision and commit.
you guys aren't even talking about the best part. IKF struggled in the Cleveland series, and in the 2 elimination games that they had against Cleveland, they benched him. And then you know
Yeah.
what they did in game 1? They
Started him.
rolled him back out there. And
Yeah.
you know what they did today? They rolled him back out there. And you know what he did today? He messed up.
Yeah.
Is that hard to comprehend? You guys know me. I pretty much defend Boone more than anybody. Not that I do overly, I'm not a big Boone guy, but like
You need a level of
lunacy.
consistency, especially with a young guy. If you're gonna bring Peraza up, you're gonna bring him in, play him. If you don't have the confidence when you've already established, it's already been well known that you didn't have the confidence in the shortstop. You bench him, play the kid,
Right.
just stick with it. That's it. Like, and yeah, the committal, the conviction to do something like that wasn't there, and it's telling the team. So the other thing is, what if Boone? What if Aaron Judge doesn't like Boone?
Get him out of here.
I'm just saying, is there a little bit of a player situation here dictating
Obviously,
what
the
happens
players
next?
like Aaron
Because
Boone.
if he says something like that, if there's any inkling behind the scenes of the way things were handled, the way things were not, and Aaron Judge at this point says it, because this is the time to say something. I could see it happening. If he's the captain, if he's the next captain, and he's going to say something about
it's
this,
when he's got leverage, and right now he's got leverage trying to sign a new contract.
and it could affect what happens. Like maybe Aaron Judge is our way to get Boone out.
I don't think
maybe this is the only way they'll do it.
Well, that was one of the reasons Joe Girardi got fired, is Gary Sanchez didn't like him.
There you go.
Right.
So the Yankees picked Gary Sanchez over Joe Girardi, and well, that didn't really work out for either party, did it?
No, because then Joe Girardi
gets fired middle of the year, and then the Phillies turn their season around. They're the hottest team in baseball in September. And
the best manager was in
in
our dugout the entire time, and it's Robbie Thompson.
Happy for that guy.
And Bryce Harper's hitting home runs to send the Phillies to the World Series.
Machado wasn't bad either.
So, I have no clue if Aaron Judge likes Aaron Boone or not. I think the players like Aaron Boone. Otherwise, why is he there? Like, obviously, Brian Cashman likes Aaron Boone, but clearly the players like Aaron Boone because
there was frustration this year. They were more vocal, especially after Severino, when Severino was talking about, when he got pulled, there was more vocal. They were going against what Boone was said. They were more vocal about some of the moves that he made this year than they ever have been. So
What would you be more surprised? What would be more surprising? The Yankees don't sign Aaron Judge, or the Yankees fire Aaron Boone?
I think they, I don't know. Those are two fair. I would be surprised. I would be very surprised if they didn't sign Judge. I wouldn't be as surprised if Boone were gone.
See, I would actually be more surprised if they fire Aaron Boone than not sign Aaron Judge.
And that's the difference between the
firing Aaron Boone at like a 5% chance, and I put not signing Judge at like a 40% chance.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Here's the deal with that. It's 100% chance that they have to sign Aaron Judge.
Do they?
Yes.
Why? Hold on, Logan. Why do they have to sign Aaron Judge?
because of
This team's
well,
not good enough with Aaron Judge to win a championship.
This is not.
They're,
This
they're
is not.
clear. They're not even honestly not even good enough to be in the ALCS. They were a very hot and also fluky first half of the season. Put them in a position where they had a bye. Really, in reality, they're no better.
So
than
then,
the Toronto
don't sign
Blue
your
Jays or the
best
Tampa
player.
Rays.
Start
making changes. I mean, I'm
you understand?
I'm not.
Do you understand that we don't have a
but,
salary cap? There's not like this isn't the NBA where
but
you have
do
to
you
make
understand
decisions
that
like
they
that.
don't actually act like that?
They spent how much money? The payroll still is pretty fucking high.
It's
They
money
spent a lot of
allocation.
money.
It's all
the
coming
issue.
out.
They've
Money's all coming out. Money's
if
all
we're
going
looking
off the
at-
books. They did this. Money's all coming off the books. Didn't we figure this out next year? Like between this coming off season and the off season after that, they're losing like $150 million in payroll. Now, obviously, they're going to replenish some of that, but like
I'm sorry. I will never say that not because he is zero part of the problem. Yes, he did not have a good postseason. I understand that. Zero part of the problem.
I think there's an actual argument to be made that signing Aaron Judge for 10 years is not good for this baseball team because you already have a large right fielder that is a DH making a lot of money and he's signed for fewer years. So there's a legitimate argument to make that not signing Aaron Judge is probably the smart thing to do.
All right. I don't have the stamina to make that argument right now, to be honest.
I would also sign Aaron Judge because he's their best player. But this is why I'm saying it's not a given that he's back, is because these are realities. This exists, and they treat this
I
like
know it's
business.
not a given. I know it's not a given, but again, it is not only just for being the best player on the planet, but also the look of not having Aaron Judge as your centerpiece. Like he's the guy.
He had a 500 OPS
and the New York
postseason.
Yankees are not going to do it.
He had a 500 OPS in the postseason.
It would be a devastating, egregious move to not happen for this franchise.
Not only was he was one of their worst hitters in the postseason.
I'm not judging him off of 2 series.
Why? He's never
seen
been
him
a
come
good
up in big
postseason
moments in the
performer.
past.
Not in the postseason.
And he carried this team to get to the postseason.
I know that. Who cares?
Right. Who cares?
Fucking care about a fucking division title?
Well, you got to get to there.
You're gonna hang a banner?
The playoffs.
You're gonna hang a banner for a division title?
Get there. You got to get there to have a chance on
They
it.
wouldn't even been in this situation. They
But-
would have blown the 15 game. They would have blown the lead if it wasn't for him.
And they would have been playing the
All right,
wild card.
we're getting off. Let's.
They would have been playing wild card weekend, and you know what? They don't care if they play wild card weekend.
So then, let's wrap this season right now, please. I'm sick of talking about it.
All right.
Best thing that they can do is, I'm going to agree with you, Scott. Obviously, they should sign Aaron Judge, but they got like at least a week of exclusive negotiations that they can have with Judge. Do it now. Figure it out. Fucking figure it out. $350 million. I don't care. I don't care. Just do it. Even if it's not going to happen because
he's going to want to go to the market
hear
at
what
this
everybody
point.
says. I agree with
He's
you.
going to the market,
but
so
Yeah, there's no exclusive conversations at this point.
he's going to ask for Juan
Wishful
Soto,
thinking.
the Juan Soto $400 million or whatever it was, and they're going to say
He
no.
should.
And then he's going to go to the open market, and unless they outbid the San Francisco Giants and the whoever else, Dodgers, like no, I don't think the Dodgers are going to be in on him, but like
Dodgers are always in it. Feels like.
well, whoever's in on him, they're going to have to outbid, or he's walking. And I obviously don't want him to walk. I was playing devil's advocate to make my point.
Not the time, Andrew.
That it's not a given that he's back. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you to everyone who's watched and listened to these post-game recap episodes. It's not been fun the last 4 days, but
I had a great time this weekend, to be honest.
I had a really good time.
Not for Yankees
until
baseball.
the second inning. I had a really good time until about 6 p.m. yesterday. Then not so much. All right, guys. We have again, we'll do another episode whenever the press conferences come out. And we have, I don't want to jinx anything. We have a pretty cool guest that should be coming on that I hope doesn't bail. And hopefully that'll be out at some point this week. And if you don't hear an episode, that means they bailed. So we'll talk to you then.